Hello, everyone. Hello, I'm Charlie Tolhurst, and welcome to the Tonight Show podcast for today, the 23rd of August, live on YouTube. We've got a busy show to get through tonight, a day early due to commitments this weekend, which I'm busy. I'm joined by late party supporters, Zach Jones, around all the latest news. Hello, Zach.
Hello, Charlie. Hello, mate.
Right, well, I'm going to get on with the news tonight. The first bit of news tonight, obviously, we're going to talk about the Republican presidential debate, which is happening, I believe, in the early hours of the morning. I will be catching up with this debate probably tomorrow, or Friday at least. But Zach, this is interesting because Vivek Ramaswamy has now overtaken Ron DeSantis in the polling to be the new leader. Obviously, Trump will probably still get leader, even though there is a potential arrest coming for him. What do you make to the debate and the tactics all the candidates could be using for this debate coming up with Fox News?
Yeah, obviously the debate's tonight. It's going to be the first key debate of the Republican primary season. It's going to be a long old season, you have to say, Charlie, in terms of what's happening ahead. Trump, who is the favourite, has decided he's so favourite that he's actually not going to turn up to the event. He's going to do a pre-recorded interview with Tucker Carlson, which is going to be released tonight on Twitter at 9 p.m. Eastern instead. 9 p.m. Eastern time, which is like 2 a.m. in the morning for us here in the UK, which I'll probably be asleep for and probably take no interest in. But yeah, he's skipping the debates. He's not interested in doing them because he's so supreme and dominant that he feels like it's not worth his effort. But there are seven or eight candidates that have qualified for the Republican National Convention debate tonight in Wisconsin. And we're going to see the likes of Vivek Ramaswamy, Ron DeSantis, Tim Scott. Sorry, apologies. There's two Scotts with Rick and Tim. We've got Tim as well. Asa Hutchinson is another one of them as well. That's going to be there. There's a few names on that list. As you can probably see, that are going to be there as well, and are going to be, debating tonight. And it's going to be, I think there's going to be some sparks that are going to fly somehow. Chris Christie, one that I just made, is going to be there as well. The North Dakota governor is also going to be there tonight as well. So there's quite a lot of obviously. Although it seems large, it's actually quite a small primary field for what it's worth as well, interestingly enough. So, yeah, I personally think that Trump's going to mention quite a lot. Some will defend him. I expect the likes of Tim Scott will probably go on the defense to him. DeSantis may do a few attacks. Vivek Ramaswamy will probably go with the defense for him as well. Chris Christie will most certainly go on the attack as well. But we're going to, I personally feel like that in terms of policy, they're going to be very in line with what some of the Donald Trump's policies will be, such as on, taxes and anything like that, for how to deal with crime and all that sort of that. So, yeah, they're going to be in line with that. Then there's going to be that matter of foreign policy. Chris Christie will probably be pro-Ukraine. DeSantis will probably leave her and fluster on that one as well. Vivek Ramaswamy will be very pro-Russia for whatever reason. I mean, like if you've seen some of his comments this week, which he then denied, but then was caught on tape saying his foreign policy avocation goes as far as basically saying that the government was involved in 9/11, which we turned out obviously to be the case that is not true as well. And to think that, I don't know. I mean, it's ridiculous, quite frankly, some of the stuff that he came out with as well. But yeah, it will be a feisty debate, I feel. Will be overshadowed by Trump mostly, because he's just going to be the talk of the town. But it will be a sort of time, I think, for those who really want to sort of set themselves apart from Trump will also tend to also lean their loyalties towards Trump to showcase that on the stage they're going to be in as well.
Yeah, Zach, it's going to be very, very interesting. I mean, I will be watching the highlights of this debate as well. I feel we both will be, and we'll get our reactions on next week's show. But this is a big week for them. Vivek Ramaswamy, recently has been the big rise of the big rise. Oh, sorry, I'm a bit echoing in the background a little bit there. I just want to update all the listeners on that. It's not a GB News technical issue that we've be coming around now, but I'll try my best to carry on tonight. What I was going to say was that Vivek Ramaswamy is certainly the dark horse in this race, because he has been behind in the polls, but he's been just getting the support of Elon Musk and so many people that even I've endorsed him to run for the election, the Republican nomination, and maybe vice president. So we don't know yet. I mean, Zach, do you think him and Trump potentially would be a dark force for the Republicans, or do you think Biden will still beat them in an election?
I personally think someone like Vivek Ramaswamy, as vice president or even the president candidate, is, I don't know, if you look at it from a Democratic point of view, a bit of a clown like Trump. So if you think about it, he would be a very good vice president for Trump because he fits within his image, he fits within his values, he sort of is more youthy, I guess, but again, he's still a very America first, MAGA Trump sort of guy, and he's also very strong on woke issues as well. If from a Republican based sort of view, so I think the chances of Vivek Murphy, Vivek Ramaswamy, I can't even pronounce his name correctly. That's how confused it is. But I think the Trump of him being a vice president will be possibility looking in the eyes, I think, for Trump. There's others that line up for the role. You have Marjorie Taylor Greene like posturing, trying to tell Trump that he wants the vice presidency nominee. You got Vivek Ramaswamy, who's gonna also hammock around as well. They are the sort of anti-Ukrainian, very pro-MAGA base that really, would fit the vice presidential bill if you're conservative, as well, and comes up with conspiracy theories. They fit very well. I can't think of anyone else really to think that Trump would consider as for vice president. I think Ron DeSantis is now out of the water. I think it's clear from a long time ago now that he's a bit, if you thought about this a couple of years ago, he might have been considered a chance a little bit, but it's probably not possible in many ways as well. And I also think in many ways that it's Vivek Ramaswamy or Marjorie Taylor Greene's at the moment two possible bets to do this one. I mean, Trump could go even crazy, could nominate Sidney Powell, although he's been indicted, so probably not. I think he'll invite a crazy one for as vice president as well. But yeah, he will invite someone from the fringe right, I think, as well, just like he is in many ways as well. I think my computer is now working, Charlie. So what I'll do whilst I'm here is I'm going to probably switch to my computer and hopefully I'll come back on with the mobile as well. I mean, you can continue whilst I'm here, but I'm just going to conclude this by saying that, yeah, tonight's debate is going to be all about Trump in many ways as well. It's also going to be about who can separate themselves from Trump. We know that it's Christie and Asa Hutchinson are going to do it as well. But whether Tim Scott decides to sort of lean in the middle and was like to Vivek Murphy and Chris Christie, Vivek Murphy, DeSantis is sort of going to lean in that way as well. We don't know what to see on that as well. Remains to be seen as well.
Yes, and this is the report I would like to reveal in this exclusive video, which we're just getting Zach back on now quickly.
There we go. I'm back on the computer.
So yeah, we're just going to get the report on for you now, guys. Which basically explains all this. This is Trump potentially going to be touting himself for a potential arrest. Have a listen to this. Report by CBC News.
Jail just outside downtown Atlanta. They wait for Donald Trump. Will surrender behind the barbed wire on Thursday, submit to fingerprinting and maybe a mugshot ahead of his coming trial with 18 others accused of conspiring to overturn the 2020 election. Even as he's seen his standing among Republican voters strengthen as the party's leading candidate for the next election, he regularly slams the accusations. because I'm sitting in a courtroom on bullshit. His backers do not disagree. On practical matters, Trump's lawyers have meanwhile signed off on terms to keep him out of prison, at least for now, agreeing on a $200,000 bond with a directive that as he awaits trial, the defendant shall make no direct or indirect threat of any nature against any co-defendant or any witness. Look at a future president's signature. This, as the party's other candidates prepare for the first big debate Wednesday, an event Trump now says he'll skip, citing his lead in the polls. All of it, leaving at least one of his fellow contenders full-on gobsmacked.
He's going to be out on bail in 4 different jurisdictions. That really? When are we going to stop thinking that's normal?
The challenge for all come the debate, how to stand out, how to battle Trump when Trump isn't even there.
The good news is you're there and you'll be able to fire away with your vision and tell people in an unfiltered way why you do a good job as being the next president of the United States.
All of that while the wait outside the Atlanta prison continues. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
Right, so that's the report there from CBC News. And just before we move on, Zach, what did you make to that report about Donald Trump planning himself for an arrest tomorrow? Oh, we got Zach on mute.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was going to say, it looks like I was on mute. But yeah, it looks like his arrest is going to happen tomorrow. And it looks like he's going to do it during the middle of prime time for the audience sake as well, because he likes the attention seeking as well. Yeah, he's going to be surrendering himself to the Fulton County DA's jail as well, and he's going to go through some hours of processing. He'd probably get a mugshot potentially, who knows? But he's going to be. He today he got, I think a couple of days ago released. He got a £200,000 bond agreement with the Fulton County DA, which means he got certain conditions that you can do when he's been released. That saying that he can't obviously communicate with co-indictors. Anything like that, can't make false comments about possible witnesses or can't make intimidating comments about it as well. Yeah, he's obviously looking forward to his jail appearance, I think, in many ways, because he will be the center of attention as well, and all the cameras and spotlight will be on him in many ways as well. Today we had Rudy Giuliani. It's been booked in today and released a $150,000 bond. Sidney Powell's been booked in today as well to also £150,000 bond as well. We'll probably get mugshots of them soon, like with some of the other co-defendants as well. But in many ways, this is sort of the combination of Trump's legal issues continuing behind the scenes as well, as he faced now 4 indictments. Many charges, up to 93, as I understand, it's currently amount, and a load of co-defendants as well. I believe 19 is the current one for the Georgia case, and there's 30 co-conspirators as well. So his legal problems are mounting up. I know, I'm sure he's loving it in some ways because of the attention that he gets from it, but nevertheless, he's going to be in this prime tomorrow when he surrenders himself to the Fulton County jail, the sheriff's jail, and gets go through the process of being put on the record and being indicted with another crime that he is innocent until proven guilty, but still looks like he may have committed.
Well, we'll keep you updated with all that news as it comes in next week. And we're going to move on now to talk about something more that's happened this week. We can go to the UK now, where Lucy Letby has been jailed for, I believe, being the worst child serial killer in the history of the United Kingdom, murdering, I believe, up to 7 babies, if I'm correct. Horrible crime. I saw this the other day. And honestly, this actually broke just after we came off air last week. I have to say, we should have known about this a lot sooner, if I'm honest. And the fact that she's gone around and done that whilst at Chester Hospital, there were children there that could have been very seriously injured and members of the public put at risk. I mean, Zach, she's going to be spending the rest of her life in prison. I mean, Do you think something like this requires the death penalty to be introduced?
Well, you know, I question whether the death penalty should even be brought back. To be fair, for obvious, reasons that are, enshrined in sort of feelings and all that sort of thing as well. But if there's any case that you would advocate a death penalty for, if it was still around for capital punishment, it was Lucy Lockby, and as they say, she's now going to spend the rest of her life behind bars, where she'll basically rot in hell. Is the kind, not even the kind way to be put it away as well. She was an NHS worker. We cherish our NHS workers and our key workers all the time. It's incredible. What we don't cherish is our baby murderers as well. She is the most. If evil could get more evil, then she was one of them. The mass murder of babies that she under her watch was a cruel, callous, chaotic, and I don't even words to put it about this case. Is the UK that this woman could even do the things that she even did, and sort of happily, keep going doing it. There are failings that we have to realize. There are massive failings throughout this case as well. Not only with Lucy Lockby, the fact that she continued to be in a job when she was murdering all these babies, but the fact that the hospital's duty of care to other staff and the failure to spot the early signs of it for most of the senior management was pretty dreadful. There were some brave staff who raised concerns, very luckily, and commend it to them. But the slow reaction to her, to even trying to get her off the ward and even taken out of her role was badly managed and badly handled. It's a disastrous event. It's a tragedy for those babies who have been murdered in broad daylight by someone who have killer motives and is basically a psychopath. And it's a shame, really, for those poor babies that they only got to see the light for not very long. They only got to see for the shortest time they could ever think of in their life, because it's all been ruined by one literal serial baby killer. Oh, the judge went down on very hard. There were testimony against her was powerful, and now, like I said, she's now going to rot in hell, basically behind bars. She's never going to be let to see the light of day again for her actions, and rightly so. Nothing more, nothing left could be done, I think, to get her to be sentenced to life behind bars with no bail conditions. And it's good to see as well that it's not just life behind bars with a couple suspended sentences and she'll have released later on. She's actually properly behind bars, never to be seen again. She even failed to turn up for her appearance in the dock because she was too much of a coward to face the families of those victims, in many ways as well. So justice has been done, but the tragedy is not done with it, and there's still many questions to be answered over this. I mean, there is now a public inquiry going on to this case. I hope, and I really implore the government that they should put this on the statute books and get a judge to lead this case, because this is the only thing that families deserve, is a mandatory public inquiry with witnesses compelled to be appearing or face penalties themselves, and a judge leading it. This is the only way I feel like we can get to the whole truth. I don't care if it costs a few £1,000s more to make it onto the statute and take a little bit more time, because this deserves a full public inquiry in law. And there have been many failings by the hospital, but many failings by Lucy Lockby as well. to protect these babies. And, you know, this needs to be discovered and this needs to be concluded, hopefully in a fair but swift way as possible.
I have to agree with you, Zach, actually. This is a horrible, horrible crime. And I really hope that if people commit these crimes, they should be locked up forever in prison. I mean, something like this is worse than stalking. Yes, stalking's not nice, it's a serious crime, but this is a lot worse. Killing children, and she was let in her job. I mean, it's pathetic. She should have been released a lot earlier. She should have been put in prison. I mean, yeah, clearly, I think we all have to conclude that that should have happened well sooner. I think it was 2016 this got leaked out or something. So, yeah, horrible. Please comment down below, guys, what you have to say about the Lucy Letby case. And yeah, that's all I can say on that. It's Tonight Show podcast live on YouTube with me, Zach, Charlie, and Zach. Live now on the show tonight. We're going to be talking now about some major breaking news coming from the war in Ukraine now, where we have the announcement of a Russian Wagner Group leader who, unfortunately, has been killed. Yes, you might know this guy. If I can ever pronounce his name correctly, Yevgeny Prigozhin or something. Here he is. He's the former Wagner leader. 10 people have been killed after a private jet crash. Plane crash in Russia, along with 9 other passengers. Russian authorities claim the Wagner chief was listed on a passenger roster of a private jet, which is said to have crashed in the Tver region of North Moscow. 7 passengers on board. The 3 crew were on board the Embraer aircraft, which was traveling from Moscow to St. Petersburg. Prigozhin led an attempt to mutiny against the Russian armed forces, including President Vladimir Putin, back in June. Now, this comes as Russia continued to bombard Ukraine, causing more deaths, unnecessary deaths and disruption to the Ukrainian population. As we know, this war is still going on by the minute. Just a little brief summary of what's been happening. Putin tells Africa nations Russia can take Ukraine's place. Certainly in that respect as well. So it's clearly that, to me, Putin does not want to stop his war anytime soon, from what we understand. I mean, Zach, obviously this news story and the developing stories in Ukraine this week, it's been huge, hasn't it?
Yeah, and tonight it's very huge. Yevgeny Prigozhin, the leader of the Wagner Group that has helped facilitate Russia in its war, especially in Bakhmut, but also has been a foe at times to the approach that the Russian government, and especially the Russian Defense Ministry, has taken towards this war. It looks like tonight he's dead in a very dramatic way. 2 months ago today, we had that attempted coup by him and his group over a killing that happened beforehand. Yevgeny Prigozhin was so furious that he ended up getting his troops, marching from Rostov, attempting to march from Rostov towards the capital to overthrow the Russian government at the time. And it was such a dramatic event. It was like Putin's biggest threat to his leadership in a generation. And yet somehow Yevgeny Prigozhin decided to give her up to do a deal with Alexander Lukashenko to move his stuff over to Belarus, and his group as well to move in and take hostage there, really, pretty much, as well. Now, we've been a bit quiet he was a bit quiet on the front recently, Yevgeny Prigozhin. He was in South Africa a couple of days ago for like a pre-recorded message video from there as well. And then we know the feeling, right? Okay, when you think it's all quiet, and then something happens. Well, it did happen today. A plane, which I believe was linked to the Wagner Group and linked to Yevgeny Prigozhin, was allegedly, and we should take this with a pinch of salt because this is Russian sources, so we should take them with a very large pinch of salt until there's independent verification that come in from this, that it looked like the plane potentially was shot down. Now, as I understand from the video, the plane that Yevgeny Prigozhin was on, one of the wings, I believe, was off when it started to go towards the ground, then set itself on fire, and then it obviously crashed as well. Obviously, there are 10 passengers in there that were on the flight and I believe are dead. Now, we believe Yuri Plotkin is dead. We're looking from multiple sources and what multiple media reports there are. Then, yeah, it looks like it looks like he's dead pretty much as well. I mean, there's 10 members on there. The passengers are there as well. We know that Ergeny Prokopkin is one of them. Nikolai Masu, Dmitry Urkin, who's basically number 2 in the Wagner group, is dead as well. Valery Choktomovny, Alexander Totmin, Evgeny Makarian, Sergei Popskin, and the crew members, the pilot, the co-pilot, the flight attendant, was all killed in that plane crash. Now, we don't know who took responsibility for it yet, but a plane at the altitude that it was running at, and the way it was how fast going in the altitude, does not just crash like that. There has to be something deliberate behind that act to be able to get that plane to the ground from that altitude. I think, to me, that there is definitely some Russian involvement there. Is there a direct link to Vladimir Putin? No. Whether he ordered this shooting down on a plane, there's no evidence of it yet. We don't have any independent evidence that it is. But Vladimir Putin does not take things lightly or just brush off things aside in the near future. He will always look for revenge if those that have served him and worked with him have betrayed him. And revenge is served sweet here for Yevgeny Prokopkin as well. He is, he's now looks like he's dead. There's no the Russian sources now saying that he's dead. Pretty much the Associated Press, other BBC sources are saying that he's dead. So we have to treat it like he's dead. Now, the reaction from the Wagner group is onto the Telegram channels is pretty loud and dramatic, and saying that they will start their march down to Moscow again because of this incident. We'll see about that. I mean, they do seem to loudmouth it quite a lot. But nevertheless, I think as well, this is a revenge act, I think, from Yuri Prokopkin and his Wagner allies as well for what they did in Russia. And the question is now, what happens next? I suspect in some ways this is going to make Putin more powerful and leeway that political advantage, because he can just kill his enemies in an instance. He's strong, he's, in that sort of area. He can just kill his opponents quite easily. But nevertheless, as well, it shows that Putin is still a strong leader, whether you like him or not. He's still strong, and he's still evil in many ways. He's still barbaric. He's still out to get revenge, and this is one of them. This looks like one of those acts as well. But it leaves an uncertainty at times now, where Prokopkin is dead. It looks like 10 others as well. The Russia Interior Ministry have got their committee as well, are investigating it. But it all comes to a conclusion that it definitely looks like the Russians did this, and the Russians caused this. And yeah, it looks like Russia decided to kill one of their own in their own area as well. So yeah, this is a very interesting event. I suspect the reaction from Ukraine will be that they'll both celebrate this. They'll celebrate the fact that Prokopkin is no hero there, and he's played a role in trying to hardline the war in areas as well. So in Ukraine, I don't think they're going to be crying tears about it. But this is a message to Putin's enemies: is that you F around, you'll find out pretty much. So yeah, it's another dramatic evening, and I don't think we're going to hear the last of this, Charlie.
Well, certainly for Russia, this is a big major news story that will affect their war with Ukraine. And I think as well, Ukraine will be delighted with this. I mean, given that he's had huge involvement, but obviously their president, Russia's President Vladimir Putin, could well initiate revenge. We don't know yet. We'll keep you updated on all that news as well. Now, the final bit of news before we move on and do the sport. There's been a lot of news this week, Zach, about London Mayor Sadiq Khan. He's been getting a lot of criticism. Obviously, we know ULEZ is coming in a few days, which is going to hamper motorists. But he's also been criticised for an alleged image that was put on, I believe, his website, showing a picture of a white family, saying it doesn't represent real Londoners.
Okay, that's quite, yeah. It's quite interesting if he has put that up as well. I mean, majority of London is ethnic minority. Let's just be honest about that as well. I'm not saying that's a problem in any ways as well, but in some ways it's probably true, but in the sort of wrong message as well. But yeah, ULEZ is 6 days away. I think it's either 6 or 5 days away, something like that. And it's going to be implemented. Now, very interesting what I read over the last few days as well, is that how ULEZ is so hated in the government. They looked so far as to see how they could tempt ways to block it and stop its implementation as well before it got enacted on the 29th and expanded across to some of the suburban areas of London, of the outer London area. And it looks like the government were going down the route of trying to block it unilaterally and using some arcane law to suggest that it was, it was not within the rights of the London mayor to be able to do that, to implement ULEZ across the whole area as well. But interesting enough, from what I've read, is that actually government lawyers actually blocked that move from happening because they didn't feel like it was it would comply. It wouldn't win in court and wouldn't get fired legal rights. And they're probably right in that sense as well. The fact they could trying to use some arcane law to stop it. I mean, you could say that from like Steve Khan's argument on this is abuse of power, of devoluted powers that the mayor can do. And he's not wrong. Mayors make decisions based on the devolution they produce, but when it comes to they're making decisions they make on that could be a little bit controversial, but still within their remit, the government go all out trying to get the lawyers to block it, all that sort of thing as well. It's attack on devolution. It will be seen as an attack on devolution, and it for so much of almost like the way the government have championed devolution before. It does look silly to think that he would have, the government would have, Rishi Sunak potentially, would have tried to use arcane laws to block ULEZ being introduced as well. So, yeah, I think in many sense this was a bit strange by the government to do what they do, but it's going to be implemented. ULEZ is going to be implemented in 6 days' time. Nobody can really stop it. It's going to happen. And, yeah, I know the pins about it are very controversial, but it's going to get implemented, and whether the government try to get legal weight ruins no matter what.
Right, now I'm just going to read you this statement here from GB News. I'm just going to read up the report. This is what the ULEZ requirements will be, and I'll read it up to you. Now, under the mayor's new plans, obviously many drivers have been trying to buy classic cars to avoid this. This is a picture here of what appears to be some old Reliant Scimitar, if I'm correct, or this old Triumph Stag in the picture. Now, vehicles older than 40 years are exempt from ULEZ charges. Now, this is the rules. Petrol cars that meets the ULEZ standards tend to be those first registered with the DVLA, that's the Driving Vehicle Licence Agency, after 2005. Some cars available since 2001 might also be eligible. Diesel cars must adhere to the Euro 6 emission standards, which are generally those first registered after September 2015. With many drivers are struggling with a prospect having to pay £12.50 every day, some may be lucky. There's a loophole that could be explored there. All vehicles have historic tax classes and exempt PAM charge, even though they release high level pollution. As I said, more than 40 years could become. When the ULEZ expands the end, all vehicles built before 1983 would be eligible to apply for the historic vehicle tax class. Transplant says the vehicles constructed for 973 are exempt in line with the London low emission zone. However, the historic vehicle tax class not includes applied to any vehicle used commercially, like coffee vans or food street vans. I mean, yeah, even Labour MPs don't agree with this, and Conservative MPs are raging about this. Please stop ULEZ, guys. It will kill businesses. That's all I'm going to say. Go out there, protest your wits about it. I mean, all the cameras have been vandalised now anyway, so that's what I mean. But yeah, comment down below, guys, what you make on the ULEZ expansion, and keep up to date. Please track your vehicle down, check to make sure that it is compliant. We've got these clean air zones everywhere, and one in Birmingham I had to go into earlier this year to check my full Fiesta was implemented or not. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say. But that's all the main political news for now. Time now to talk about the latest news from the world of sport now. We're going to go over the Premier League results first. Obviously, I just want to say as well to the Lionesses, very unlucky on Sunday, losing 1-0 to Spain, runners-up in the World Cup. I just want to say congratulations to the England Lionesses, though, for getting second place. We won the Euros the other year, last year. I just want to say winning the Euros and second at the World Cup, great year for, if I'm correct in saying, Sinal Wagelman's females team there. Well done to you as well. But meanwhile, now time for the results from the Premier League. There has been many matches on, including some that happened last weekend. It saw the following results, which we'll get through now for you. Match day 2, 38. Nottingham Forest to Sheffield United. Nottingham Forest won 2-1. Luton and Burnley were postponed due to Luton's Town needing more work. Liverpool 3-1 winners at Bournemouth, despite a red card in that match. Also another red card. Brighton beat Wolves 4-1. Wolves got a player sent off in that one. Brentford 3, Fulham 0. A big shock of the weekend there. Brentford beating Fulham. And another one, Tottenham beating Manchester United 2-0 at home. Man City beat Newcastle 1-0. Aston Villa thrashed Everton 4-0. West Ham United 3. Chelsea 1, despite a red card in that match. And also the red card for Arsenal there, despite winning 1-0 at Crystal Palace. What did you make to the football results last weekend?
Yeah, red cards galore, I have to say, in the weekend as well. But let's go through some of the matches before I get onto the Lionesses as well. Started Friday, Nottingham Forest and Sheffield United as well. It was Nottingham Forest in its second season in the Premier League. Sheffield United recently promoted as well. In that match, it was Nottingham Forest that managed to get stay on top of that one. It was Taiwo Waniku, Chris Wood that scored the goals as well. Greg Hammer as well. That scored for Sheffield United, but still Sheffield United lost. Nottingham Forest, the better team on the night, I think, as well. We obviously know that Luton's stadium still in works. That was postponed match against Burnley. Liverpool 3, Bournemouth 1. Now, we got Alexis McAllister got a red card, you may remember on that watch as well. Now, his 3-match ban for his red card has now been overturned by an independent commission because they determined that his red card offence was not good enough. So he's now going to be available for this weekend's matches, which is good for Liverpool as well. Alex McAllister, I personally thought it was never a red card, personally, in my view as well, but looking at it. But Liverpool, a dominant victory. Goals from Luis Diaz, Mohamed Salah, Diego Jota as well. I mean, very, very experienced goal scorers and players as well on that one. And Alexis Seminolo was the one that scored for Bournemouth as well. Wolves 1, Brighton 4. It's been a rocky start for Wolverhampton Wanderers this season as well. Nunez with a red card in the 95th minute, which actually was a well-deserved one. Hwang Hang was the one in the 61st minute, but then we got Mitoma, Esteban, and Sammy March as well, with 2 goals in the 51st and 55th minute as well. I mean, Brighton are on very good form, and one of the only teams, only a few teams really, to win all their matches so far, get the perfect 6 points at 6 so far. Fulham, very bad match for them, lost 3-0 against London Royals Brentford in that match as well. I mean, yeah, they were poor. Yuda Wasasa, Mbumo was scored from a penalty, and also in the 92nd minute as well, Ream a red card in the 64th minute for a tackle as well. I mean, that was fairly obvious it was a red card in that one as well. The other big match of the weekend, Tottenham versus Manchester United. Ange Postecoglou has finally got a win. on his second Premier League start for Tottenham. It'd be a very good match for Tottenham overall. United started falling apart in the midfield as well, and yeah, it was not a good match at all. Very, very serious errors by Manchester United. A poor match for them, but a great match for Tottenham as well, with goals from Massar and Martinez was the own goal scorer in the 83rd minute there as well. But a very good match for Tottenham Hotspur. More of that, please. I'd say for Tottenham Hotspur as well. Let's go to the other Saturday match as well. At the end of the day was Man City Newcastle, close one, but Man City better possession and a 1-0 victory over very close rivals Newcastle as well. Julian Alvarez in the 31st minute that scored the goal there. I mean, Newcastle, I don't think we'll panic too much from that result, but still a loss for them anyway. And then the Sunday matches was Villa and Everton. Aston Villa were 4-0 thumping over Everton, who were shocking over that one as well. Very poor overall for them. The very, very dreadful defending. It was John McGinn, Danny Lewis, Leon Bailey, Duran, 75th minute was all scored as well. And then the London derby, West Ham Chelsea. Wow, what a match! West Ham 3, Chelsea 1. Penalty from Lucas Paqueta. He scored on that as well. Odegaard got a red card, a second yellow for a tackle. First yellow card was time wasted. The second one was tackle. Chukwueze was the one that scored for Chelsea. I mean, he's one of the players that performed really well as well. Mikhail Tony was a 53rd minute. Well, really good goal from him. And then Monday, Arsenal survived a 1-0 win over Palace. We've got a bit edgy towards the end. Tommy Arsu got a red card in the 67th minute, but Odegaard was the one that scored the 57th minute to score the penalty and provide a good result for them as well. Coming up as well next week as well, and I believe there's 2 more matches of this before the international break. Chelsea take on Luton, and that's the Friday night football as well at 8 p.m. That's live on Sky. And then the key Saturday match to watch out for, I think, as well, is Bournemouth v Spurs at 12:30, and the 3 o'clockers are Brentford Palace, another London derby there, two London derbies of Arsenal, Fulham, United v Nottingham Forest, Everton versus Wolves, Brighton v West Ham as well. Brighton are always very good against West Ham, so it'll be very interesting to see whether West Ham can maintain a consistent form of losing against them or actually getting the win out of them as well. And then the matches on Sunday are Sheffield United v Manchester City, Burnley v Aston Villa, and then Newcastle v Liverpool as well. I just want to say commiserations to Lionesses as well after losing 1-0 to Spain in the final of the 2023 Women's World Cup final. I mean, they were just beaten by the better team, I think, at the end of the day. Spain were much better on the ball. They scored the better goal, to be fair. Mary Earps, fantastic save from penalty spot. But overall, I think Spain were the better team and they probably deserve to win on that one as well. But commiserations to the Lionesses and congratulations to Spain for winning this year's Women's World Cup.
Yeah, I'm sure many people wore their England shirts on Sunday, and we can obviously commend Spain for winning World Cup. We're very gutted for England, but at least we got to the final, which was a fantastic achievement nevertheless. But moving on now, we're heading to Formula One news now. This is what I'm excited for this weekend, the return of the Dutch Grand Prix. The summer break has finished. We're going this weekend now with Charlie, with a new prediction called Biggest Surprise, Biggest Flop, whatever you want to call it. Not quite the P1 podcast. They're actually going to be, Matt and Tommy are going to be there this weekend from P1. You check out their YouTube channel, by the way, guys, if you want to see that. But yes, biggest surprise, well, I don't know who that will be. My biggest flop will probably be a retirement for maybe Pierre Gasly, I'm sure will be the one. But I think as well, Zach, this weekend's a big weekend because Max Verstappen can actually break Sebastian Vettel's consecutive win record here.
Yeah, he certainly can. He's going around continuing to break records in terms of consecutive wins, and Sebastian Vettel's one is definitely on the next one list as well. It will be front of the Dutch fans, the raving Dutch fans as well. By the way, they're not allowed to bring their little their smoky, their orange smoke, I'm afraid, this year. It's all been banned. But yeah, there will still be a lively atmosphere full of Max Verstappen fans crowding the area at Circuit de Zandvoort as well. and probably a very, I say, tight, narrow, and difficult to overtake circuit as well. Probably one of the more difficult ones in the calendar, you have to say, as well, in terms of Hungary up there as well. But it's going to be a blast, and the atmosphere is going to be entertaining. We'll be very interested to see what the progress is of all the people, teams behind Red Bull, to see whether they can catch up. Well, obviously, Red Bull could be the favourite. They don't need this weekend, no doubt about it. But it'll be interesting to see whether the likes of McLaren can catch up. This is a bit of a different circuit to them. This is not the Spa. This is not like the Spas and Britain's for them. This is a bit more of a trickier circuit in terms of downforce. They'll probably go for low down. Most teams go for low downforce, given the fact that there's a lot of twisty corners in there as well, and it's not the fastest circuit to go around as well. But yeah, can Verstappen beat Vettel's record this weekend? I think it's very likely. But is the weather going to play up as a factor? There's possibility of rain around again. Yeah, we've heard it since the last couple of races as well. Possibility of rain around the corner, potentially disrupting qualifying and practice as well. And by the way, speaking of practice, there's going to be a few faces in FP1. Obviously, as part of the requirement to put a rookie in to the seat now and then as well. There is going to be a few interesting faces that you're going to not realise as well. Going out in FP1 for practice this weekend. Let me get it up as well and find it somewhere, because it will probably be on here. I know Ferrari are putting a replacement this weekend for Carlos Sainz as well. Who I can't remember who it was as well, but it was somebody they're doing it driving FP1 as well. I think Robert Schwartzman is going to be taking up Ferrari's FP1 rookie outing in this weekend as well, and I believe with Abu Dhabi as well is going to be one of them as well. That's good to see as well for him as well. But yeah, I mean, nevertheless, it's going to be an exciting weekend. It's been a while since F1 has been on been on our TV screens after the 4-week break. But now we're going to be in 2 consecutive races with, Dutch Grand Prix next, then the Italian Grand Prix the following week as well. It's going to be a run of races, and you never know. In a few races' time, the title may all be wrapped up, depending if Max Verstappen gets all his way as well. Who knows? As well. But nevertheless, we got coming up next the Dutch Grand Prix and the Italian Grand Prix. 2 races and 2 consecutive rounds as well to look forward to, and lots of exciting action ahead.
Yeah, now, Zach, I just want to quickly mention about a couple of other bits of motorsport news. Obviously, Felipe Massa's got his case that he lodged the other day. I mean, to be honest with you, I can't believe and I can't understand why Massa is actually trying to put here by claiming that, yes, obviously Renault crashed in 2008, the whole Crashgate scandal regarding Nelson Piquet's crash in Singapore that year, which caused Fernando Alonso to win the race. Do you think Massa's appeal is anything to shout about here, or do you think it's pure fantasy?
I think his case is pure fantasy. I honestly, I think it's just ludicrous. It's a ludicrous case to bring. If he wants to bring it now, he's done it way too late, because quite frankly, why would he want to bring it now? It's just sour grapes in many ways. I mean, yes, Renault did do something really stupid at the time with Nelson Piquet Jr. Basically ordering to crash to benefit, title rivals. And that was stupid. It was really bloody stupid, and people got banned for that. Rightly so. Pat Simmons got one of them as well. It's pretty obvious that one that was going to happen. But nevertheless, I think this case is ludicrous. I mean, Massa is just a bit sulking that he probably got that Hamilton got over to Timo Glock. And in many ways as well, it's not a legitimate thing to complain about. Felipe Massa is not the true 2008 world champion Lewis Hamilton is. Let's just be honest on that one. And I have to say, comparing this, to the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix case, where I think Mercedes had a point, but I still don't think it was worth the time or effort to be, spending all the illegal money on. It's just a waste of money, a waste of time. Nothing's going to change. and there's going to be no conversation agreed about this. I think this is going to be tossed out of courts in a flash because there is going to be totally ludicrous with no basis in reality.
Certainly an interesting dilemma on that one. So that is all the news from Formula. I just want to quickly also talk about as well. See, Sam Bird signing for McLaren Formula E as well. But also now, Zach, Liam Lawson as well. He has got a lot to prove if he's going to be a Red Bull reserve driver because he's going into this Super Formula Championship now. I believe he's 1 point behind, a couple of points behind the leader of that series. And he had a big crash the other week in Japan, from what I remember, at the Mojeg circuit, if I'm correct.
Yeah, he had a pretty big accident, to be fair. As well, quite a significant accident as when he made damage to the car. Big damage, and that was costly in terms of the title battle as well. 1 point behind. It's peanuts in these days, and every single position of margin is going to count at this stage of the championship in Super Formula. So this is the expertise area. He wants to get a reserve seat for the Red Bull, and he wants to be eventually, hopefully, be an AlphaTauri driver, whatever it's going to be called in a couple of years' time. Maybe what they rename themselves. But yeah, these sorts of mistakes can't happen. I'm glad, obviously, he's okay from the crashes and all that sort of thing. But he must be right in the game in those last 3 races if he wants to be able to sort of have his little pokey nose out for a Red Bull Junior seat in the next couple of years, I think.
Yeah, certainly in that respect there as well. So that's all the Formula One news. Just going to quickly go over the NASCAR Cup Series news now, which was go bowling at the Glen. Yes, we didn't knock down bowling pins. NASCAR certainly bowled burned some rubber at the Glen, the Watkins Glen, of course, I'm referring to, which was the last round of the championship. Just watched a quick little summary of the highlights. It was William Byron, I believe, who took, I think, his fourth or fifth win of the season, if I'm correct. Maybe more than that, in fact. But winning there in the number 24 Chevrolet Camaro ahead of Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell third, Adrian Digger fourth, Ty Gibbs fifth, Martin Truex Jr. sixth, Chris Buescher seventh, Tyler Reddick eighth, Ryan Blaney ninth, Joey Logano completing the top 10, and only one DNF was Michael McDowell in that race. What did you make to the NASCAR Cup Series meeting at Watkins Glen just last week?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as well, this is really crucial in many ways as well in terms of the NASCAR standards as well, because we'll talk about it in a moment. But William Byron finally managed to get some relief out of that and win a race as well. Really good job by William Byron as well. He was dominant on that race course, pretty much with the pack as well. And I have to say as well, really good one as well. Denny Hamlin, you said second, Christopher Bell third, Adrian Allmendinger fourth, Ty Gibbs fifth, Truex sixth, Chris Buescher seventh, Tyler Reddick eighth, Ryan Blaney ninth, and Joey Logano in 10th position. Now, next race is Daytona, which is the last race before the playoffs. This is the last race of the regular season as well. And there are implications, obviously, for what happens next, obviously, now. Now, as you know, obviously, with William Byron winning, it means he does get a playoff spot. Now, 2 drivers have also made the playoff spot based on the fact they've accumulated enough points, which means it's mathematically impossible for anyone else to catch them up. So there are 2 drivers that now, after Watkins Glen, have now made the playoff based on points alone. That is Brad Keselowski and Kevin Harvick. Those 13 drivers that have made it way through to the playoffs thanks to wins are William Byron, Truex, Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, Chris Buescher, Tyler Reddick, Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, Ross Chastain, Joe Logano, Ryan Blaney, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., and Michael McDowell. And obviously on top of Brad Keselowski and Kevin Harvick, they have all made the playoffs so far. There is one more spot available in the playoffs as well. Obviously, they need any of those outside of obviously the top 16, can win, and they can race their way into the playoffs. If one of the already playoff drivers that's won already and then wins this race, then it will be points decided. Now, let's look at the points on this so far. We're looking at Bubba Wallace, Ty Gibbs, Daniel Suarez, and AJ Allmendinger with a good chance, obviously, of making their way through to the playoffs. But they have to win to guarantee themselves as well. If none of them win, if Bubba Wallace stays ahead of the likes of Ty Gibbs, doesn't win, but nobody else, and one of the playoff drivers wins, Bubba Wallace is into the playoff. Very simple as well. It's going to be interesting But obviously, as well, there's only one more spot remaining, and it could be anybody. So if we go to Daytona or the Super Speedway for the final round of the regular season, anything can happen. Big ones, crashes. It's going to be all under the lights as well, under the Daytona light, and it could not be a more dramatic end to the regular season than racing at Daytona.
It's going to be very, very interesting, and I will keep you updated with all that news as it comes in. Now it's time for Now it's time, guys, for a segment that we've all been waiting for this week on the show. Of course, it's time to have a topic of conversation. It is back to Conversation Street now. And this week, we're going to go for 100% what I've been wanting to do for a long time on this segment. If you're a petrol head like myself, we're going to be talking about cars and classic memorabilia, automotive stuff. This is a program that I have been watching. I actually finished watching it just before I come on air tonight. It is Bangers and Cash, or actually Matterson's. I want to talk to you about this company very quickly, and also the TV show that they do as well, which I've been watching. It's available on yesterday, where they're currently filming it, I think 8 series. Now, it's called Matthewson's. It's a Bangers and Cash, follows a family business in a lovely village of Thornton Le Dal. If you don't know where Thornton Le Dal is on, I will get that up for you now. That is located in, of course, just in North Yorkshire, England, as well. North Yorkshire, England. It's a passion for classic cars. Each car's a unique story to tell. It was the dad's car he first bought as a teenager, he ever always wanted, but never had cash to buy until now. Starting in 2018, there have been 5 series of the hit. Yesterday, channel shows 6th on the way. New 2022 is a spin-off program, Bangers and Cash, restoring classics, which you can see below. Basically, this is what they do. It's the episodes are all on here. If you want to watch it, you can see there some of the cars being done up. You got like a Spree, what looks to be some kind of like Austin in front there. But of course, it doesn't just do that. They don't just do up cars as well. They also have auctions. Yes, the place where you can go and actually have a look how much things are sold. It is actually pretty cool to go and watch. This is some of the auctions that we found. Classic vehicles that got sold, classic things that got sold. So I'd like to share with you some of it. These are all the lots that were produced. So we had an AA bed and breakfast double side bill. We went for 270. An aeroplane Castrol motor oil went for 140. A Bentley light up sign up 560. And then obviously some of the cars that were sold there as well. Lot 5, 1967 Vanden Plas 1000 Princess, also an Austin Princess, if you guys don't know. That was produced in the 60s, a bit more upmarket. That sold for £10,300 there. So if you're a lucky owner of that car, I just would like to say well done for purchasing this rare beauty. This more history on the car there. Had a 1-litre engine, 35,000 miles as well on the clock. So pretty good in good condition. We also had a 2011 Land Rover, a Range Rover TSP. That, of course, comes, I believe, with a 3-litre V6. That actually sold for around £17,000. And that was, of course, 25,000 miles on the clock. And then finally, of course, the 1989 Ford Sierra RS Cosworth. That sold today, or sold the other week, for £19,250. Famous whale tail on the back. Of course, this is slightly later version, from what I understand. Pictures here of the car. If you guys are interested, this is the car here. Showroom. It's actually a 4x4 version, I think, so it might have 4-wheel drive. Looks pretty cool, actually. That had done 103,000 miles. Now, Zach, what do you make, obviously? What do you make, first of all, to Matthewson's of Bangers and Cash? Do you think that this show and this business, family-run business, is doing a lot to help local motorists out?
Absolutely, I do think it's the fact is as well, they're selling old classics which are just beautiful and tuned in a way that, you know, just gives you a lot of memories, just to have a lot of fun over. It's not something that you go out for a chance drive and everything like that. This is just like a family-run business that just sells lovely, beautiful classic cars that you just want to have fun with and have a good road trip on and just have a lot of fun with. And it's an example of a successful run family business. that, not a tuned car, but sells them on the market, so that those that we can, those who want to buy one, just you can purchase one at auctions. If this is like a family-run little business. Obviously, head of Derek Matheson, his 2 sons as well. They offer obviously 4,000 classic cars a year. I mean, that's incredible how much money they can just make off of that. Literally selling all those cars. It obviously costs a lot to purchase these cars. I mean, I don't know about it. They probably go for cheap. They probably get this on the cheap, and then they sell it off for a lot of money, as well. And it just a little amount the range that it sells as well. Obviously, they're very rare, and they obviously don't see it much these days. I mean, you certainly wouldn't see it US compatible, but nevertheless, as well, they're just beautiful cars to sell. And you can see all the ranges they sell it at as well. It's still on the market: £190, 13,000, 6,300 as well. A sign sold for 310, 340. These are all through auctions. A 2004 Subaru Impreza, not sold yet, but still there, estimated at 15,000 to 16,000. Incredible there as well, just to see that's.
And a 911 sold 31,500. A 1987 lot 29 Porsche 911 here. One of the original ones, actually with a 3.1 litre flat 6 engine. Done 93,000 miles as well. Car was damaged in 2005, repaired by a Leicestershire body shop, passed the VIC test, was back on the road in 2005.
It's just absolutely incredible that it's been sold. I mean, like 90. Let's go back to 1987. It's incredible, really, all the stuff that's got sold as well. And the fact they managed to keep up to date with MOT and make sure it's all good condition. As well, they obviously this family business does take care of the cars so well and so brilliant as well. Now, and one of the good things about it as well is obviously that this is on television and everything like that as well. The people behind UK TV have only a couple of days ago renewed this series for a further, I think it was a further 2 new series as well in the future. So they're going to air 46 new episodes in the future because this has just been commissioned for another 2 series. So, and the fact that it's so popular, it's 760,000 people watched it for a television channel on UK TV as well. It's brilliant for the Yesterday channel. It's brilliant figures, and it just shows that you can make a creative program that that compels to a niche audience and execute it well to the point where you just want these guys to be on air forever because they're like their family business. Their way of selling things and just opening of public and everything like that is just, it's brilliant the way they do things and fair play to them. They're going to get more TV shows out of this and another 2 series commissioned. I mean, they thoroughly deserve it.
It's a great show. It's a great show. I will be continuing to watch this. I'm actually on to episode 4 now of series 1. I've got so many episodes to catch up on, so it'll be great, honestly. If you're watching on that show as well tonight, I just want to say the other day, it was an MGB 1966. Got sold for £2,100. MGB GT got sold to, I think, an 18-year-old boy. One of the youngest, and I think he sold the car again, but it was one of the youngest owners of a car in the entire country, of a classic car. His granddad owned one. It's amazing. Like, some young people are buying these things. They've got enough money for them. Honestly, this is a big dream I've had when I was younger. I've always looked up on my bedroom wall poster. Always looked up, reading my articles, reading stuff, saying these are the cars I want to get. These are the dream cars I want to drive. Honestly, I'd encourage you guys. There's plenty of news, obviously in Essex as well. If you don't know, in a couple of weeks' time, there's a car show on at Barley Downs on the 10th of September in Essex, which is down the road from me. They've got a big classic car show on that weekend on the 10th of September. There's going to be monster truck display, so. There might be some classic cars there if you want to have a look. Probably some old E-type, stuff like that, Jaguars. It's going to be very, very interesting. But enough of the car chat now. We've got a busy amount of time to review. Press preview now, newspaper review into the latest newspaper headlines. We're now going to move straight off from motoring onto the media stuff. Let's get on with that. First of all, let's go with the Metro as well. Also, just want to say, guys, I hope you're all okay in Spain. As I know there's been some horrible wildfires in Tenerife. And I just hope all you guys out there are okay. following the recent events, and also Hawaii as well over the last few days. Now, the Daily Star obviously going with the death of this Russian Wagner Group chief. The Daily Star goes, no one at all shocked as warlord who defied Putin dies in aircraft. What rotten luck, was a Daily Star's headline. The I newspaper goes, Putin critic killed 60 days after mutiny. Wagner Group Pryzotkin believed dead as private jet crashes over Russia. Financial Times also goes with the same headline saying all 10 were killed, aircraft have been shot down. US had warned the rebel leader of peril. The Metro goes for nation's lunar landing joy. India is over the moon. That is the current newspaper headlines. What would you make to the latest newspaper headlines? Pretty much three going with one story.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the leading story is going to be tonight. I think in terms of international stories and domestic ones as well, of the killing of Pogotkin as well. I mean that's going to be the lead story in many ways. I mean, it starts with the Daily Star views it in this way. What rotten luck. I mean, that's very sarcastic, as you can probably tell by the Daily Star standards. I mean, they're sort of saying, no, I mean, oh, well, never mind, pretty much in that one. No one's all shocked as warlord who defied Putin dies in air crash. Yeah, the Daily Star is basically echoing the skepticism that, that it was just some unfortunate air accident involving some plane. And you can see they've obviously stuck Putin onto the front page there with what rotten luck. Probably because Putin is behind this all. Putin probably laughing his face off whilst this is all happening as well. In many ways, because he's probably the architect of this, probably all these security services. Go around there, find Pogotkin's plane, shoot it down, and kill everyone on it. No one's surprised this has happened because Pogotkin was just out to get revenge for Putin. So Putin's obviously going to find out his time and space to really get his other bit of revenge back, really, in some ways as well. The betrayal act as well, pretty much in that sort of sense. So no one is sure shocked as a warlord who defied Putin. Yeah, he was a warlord. No matter what you think it would be worse or anything like that, he still contributed to the war in Ukraine very much as well. The I goes for pretty much the same as well. They go for Putin critic killed 60 days after mutiny. Wagner boss believed dead. Now, obviously, we believe he's dead because we still don't have any independent verification apart from Russian sources and anything like that. Although, to be fair, we do have the Associated Press. We have BBC reporting the same as well. So there's obviously some legitimacy in this as well. Obviously, there's 10 others as well that died on that plane as well. I mean, he was in South Africa the other day, and now he turns out to be dead in a field somewhere over in Russia. In no such suspicious circumstances at all on that one. But yeah, there is definitely suspicious circumstances as well. Financial Times go for Wagner boss Prigozhin was aboard crane crash, said Russian officials. All 10 on flight killed. US had warned rebel leader of peril. Now, yeah, the US sort of predicted, based on their intelligence sources, this was going to happen some way, that Prigozhin was not going to get an easy ride out of this. And this was sort of the revenge, like I said, as well, in that one as well. A post by the Grey Zone Wagner contact social media channel claimed that Russia anti-aircraft defense had shot down the plane. It said resident heard 2 bursts of characteristic air defense fire before the plane began to foul as well. The US's reaction to this was, if confirmed, no one should be surprised that this has happened. Putin doesn't take prisoners, said a Western official had been told that the plane had been brought down by Russian anti-aircraft missile system, but could not confirm whether Prigozhin was on board as well. But I mean, pretty much we think he's on board, but nevertheless to see as well. And we got actually a couple more to do actually, because I know the Guardian just released their front page as well, and it's also on Prigozhin as well. Wagner chief Prigozhin called dead after jet crash near Moscow. You can see the plane there in a ball of flames. Pretty much that's the wreckage in the Twelver region of Russia, where Prigozhin and his 10 people were reportedly on board as well. Pretty much as well. And the tail number of the plane is RA02795. That's a plane that's been owned by Prigozhin and the Wagner Group as well. And that pretty much is what they're saying as well, and that is linked very well to Prigozhin and the Wagner Group as well. Finally, we'll do the Metro. They go for a different story. The Metro goes for a very different story, and I think it's a good positive story, this one. India over the moon. India began wild celebration after its Chandrayaan-3 mission landed on the moon and made space history. It becomes only the fourth nation to achieve that feature, following the US, the former Soviet, and China. But it's first to have landed at the moon's south pole, because Russia's attempt to actually get a spaceship ended up crashing into the moon itself. So the Indians are beaten there out as well. The scientists watched live digital simulation, cheered on as lunar lander Vikram completed its 30-minute soft descent. Cheers erupted in cities, towns, and villages across the vast country, where big screens are put up in schools and public space as well. Well done, India, for getting one over the moon. Congratulations, to be fair. I mean, it's a good job they've done on that one, I think, as well. And all this is goes for science and technology and all that sort of thing as well. And we'll probably find out things about what could happen, on the moon, on the south side of things, when the Indians inspect it as well, and do a bit of discovery on that as well. But yeah, that's papers at the moment. I know the Times got a few. Let's go over some others papers. We've got a little bit of time. Chinese spy targets UK official on LinkedIn, which is a business, obviously, used by lots of businesses. Thousands of access to secrets got caught in the nest as well, which is a very severe security breach on that front. Very severe security breach by the Chinese as well. And I think that deserves much investigation. The Daily Telegraph, as I mentioned yesterday, obviously mentioned as well. Obviously, laws block PM overall ULEZ plans, which understandable as well. The Lucy Letby Holly, the Mirror yesterday as well. The Mail left with the woman gives woman to her sister in UK transplant first. Another bit of nice positive news as well. In a UK first, a woman has sexually donated a womb to help her childless sister. Well done, the woman. I mean, now the other one can hopefully have babies. It's brilliant. That's just brilliant news overall, and a very historic first overall for an operation to be able to get a womb out of someone's body and donate it to someone else as well. That is an incredible job. And yeah, so that is the papers for the 24th of August tomorrow as well. And that is all the papers. And it obviously leads with the news of Ukraine and Sorokin's probable death as well. But yeah, that's the papers for tomorrow, the 24th of August.
Yeah, it's a big one, and obviously, we obviously dominated by that Wagner group. Yuri Prigozhin, obviously the one who sadly, but from what we believe, died in that crash there. That's all I'm going to say really. Plane crash, helicopter crash, we're going to call it. It's a plane crash from what we understand. So yeah, that is all we're going to do. But thank you guys for listening. That is all we've got time for on the Tonight Show podcast. We'll be back again next weekend for another edition of the show. I'm your host, Charlie Torres, and my co-host, Zach Chambers. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and we'll see you next week. Good night.